How much is the scrimmage tomorrow going to count towards quarterbacks?
Huge, huge. You can't tell much about practice because they go with different guys, and it's got the same thing with scrimmages. You know, your quarterbacks are, you know, working with freshman receivers one time, and a lot of times they don't know who's in the rotation. Tomorrow they'll know a little bit more, but I look more of just running the team, you know, knowing the down and distance, you know, pumping the team up, getting us in the right play. We change the play probably 50% of the time to the line of scrimmage, and that goes a long way. If you're in the wrong play, it doesn't make any difference what quarterback's back there. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch tomorrow. We'll go full speed. The only two people that we won't tackle are obviously quarterbacks, and we won't tackle Boone and Tion. They've done their share of getting tackled, but we'll tackle everybody else, and we'll go full speed. So it'll be full-scale blitz. We're not going to hold anything back on defense. We want to get the true idea of where we're at before we get into next week's practice.
After tomorrow, how close do you think you'll be to knowing who the guy is?
I'd say 50-50. I think we'll obviously know more, but we got to give them all the same chance, you know, against, you can't say somebody that's going against the third-team defense all the time is going to be better than the guy that's got to go against the good guys. So we're going to try to, and on defense, we're trying to mix it up. We're going to mix some guys up on defense. We'll have ones, half ones, and half twos against one group on defense. You know, split the defensive line up. We're going to do some things to try to even it up because I want to get a real good idea of where they are mentally and physically, and then whether they can get the job done or not. So each quarterback will get probably around 35-40 snaps.
Can you say, without giving an order, just analyze what you've seen from the three?
Yeah,
I'd say give an order if you want.
Yeah, but I'd say it's still the same as we started out. I'd say Hayden won, and Ross and Gunner, you know, neck and neck. But there's not a lot of difference between those two in the first, you know. And so we know Hayden, what he did last year in some situations, played well in some ball games he didn't. I'm looking for consistency. Zach's looking for athletic ability and kind of find out, you know, who's going to get the ball in the right spot. You know, I'm looking for, you know, how a guy runs a football team. So it'll be big tomorrow. And again, it's we don't have much time. We got 3 weeks from last night. We'll have the first one in the books 3 weeks from today. So we're going to spend it next week. At the end of the week, we'll probably be cutting it down right before the scrimmage of who we feel like the top two are. And then they will get more of the ones and twos, you know, together than the other guy. So in the next scrimmage, which will be week of the day. So, and then after that, we'll have a 1 and 2.
So there hasn't really been any separation?
I think there's been days when Gunner's looked probably better than all of them. And that's what I've been counting on. The guy's got all kind of talent, and he's got all kind of experience. But again, we got to go back to one thing. This is not the same offense he's been running. I mean, they're all having to learn this. I mean, so there's been some mental problems with all three of them, with the checkdowns and who to throw the ball to. But I'll give them this too: is we are doing so much more in the secondary than what they've seen in the last 2 years with our guys, and so we're playing more aggressive. We're getting more picks now. We'll see whether that pays off because, you know, are we too aggressive in the secondary? But right now, we're not worried about that. We're trying to play as well as we can on defense, not worrying about who's at quarterback. And I think it's going to pay off for all three quarterbacks how we're playing on defense.
Is it ironic to you, Tommy, that the games off the field seem to be overshadowing the games on them, at least in the public eye?
So,
Big 12
Big 12? Well, it probably should at this time. You know, there's no games to be played. And it's obvious, all of us out here as coaches, man, we're all wondering what's going to happen too. We don't want it to go into the season, and I'm sure they don't want to either. So it's a big step. This is a huge step for the Big 12, and it's a huge step for any school that does or does not get in. And so, rightly so, it's on the back of everybody's mind. But I think it'll be over soon, one way or another. And you know, we can't linger on it. You know, we've got a season to play, and I think these guys have done a good job. Coaches have done a good job. I think coming out here has been good because, you know, you get public broadcasting system and AM radio out here, and not much internet. Kyle is the only one that afford internet out here, and so we really don't know much what's going on. But is it a distraction? No, not really. Is it on everybody's mind? Sure it is, and it should be.
What is the difference, say, between being the head coach at Auburn and the head coach of Ole Miss in terms of recruiting a kid that you really want, hypothetically speaking?
Oh, well, you're talking about in a determining factor where you're going to get a kid.
Mm-hmm.
We last year, I talked about this at the end of recruiting. We have been recruiting against the Power Five on a lot of kids. Last 2 years, and we've probably, I'd say, gotten 30% of the guys that we've gone head to head. You can't win on the big time level unless you get 50 to 60%. So if that answers your question, we've got to get more of them. And I tell you where it's really hurt us. It's hurt us here in the city because a lot of these kids, they're around us more, and it's talked about more that we're not the Power Five, and the high school coaches know it, and so that it's we've recruited every kid that's gone to a Power Five school. And everybody says, why don't you take more kids? Well, they've gone. Where have they gone? They've gone to Power Five schools. Some of them. Now we've gotten some of them, and I'll give it to our coaches. We've stuck with it, and we go after them. But it's reality.
Are you in the loop on this, or is there a loop?
No, there's really not a loop. As I said about 3 weeks ago when this came out, that they were looking at expansion. We've done all we can do. Athletic department's done a heck of a job. You got to take your hat off to the last 10 or 15 years in basketball and football here of what's happened. So I think that's taken care of itself. I think Dr. Ono, obviously, he made no bones about it. He did all of his work. Mike Boone's done. Bones been done all of his work, and so but it's just, it is what it is. When you have no control of it, all you do is as much as you possibly can and go on whether it happens or not.
What sort of future might this program have if it does not at least eventually get into a Power Five?
I think, and I've said this is not the only time that there's going to be expansion. There's going to be other, now, when it's going to happen, nobody knows. But I've been in this business a long time. There's always a separation of powers. There's movement. There's conferences that want to make headway. And I truly think that there's, in every conference, there will be more expansion. Now, it might be a year, it might be 4 years or 5 years. And if you're not in the Power Five, it really, we're on TV as much as most other schools. Like my son at Auburn the last few days, I say you're on TV all the time as much as us. Now we're on there. The problem is you don't get paid for it. And so there's obviously a separation of the paychecks, and that goes a long way for every sport.
Three new fairly prominent coaches. What do new coaches bring to the program?
Oh, the experience. Take our offensive line coach, for instance. We couldn't have got a better guy to come here in our situation. A guy that's been around, coached on a lot of good teams, a lot of good players, been on some teams that didn't have as good of players. And so he understands our situation. We've got 2 brand new offensive tackles he works day and night with and has since he's been here. So it's an experience factor. I think Zach Taylor brings fresh ideas from the NFL. Some things that we're not one of these spread teams that going to run the ball ever down. We're more, if we are a spread team, which we are some, we're more of a pro style attack. And he brings the experience of training quarterbacks, and I think that's good. There's not a lot of universities now across the country that the NFL takes note of that are pro style attacks. Most of them now are just spread them out and either run it or throw it, short passing game. We run more of a pro style attack, and I'd say our secondary, we needed more technique, and Mike Gilhammer is. He brings experience that the players. I noticed from the first day that here's a guy that's coached some big time athletes in college and mostly in the pros, and so all these guys, no matter what level of talent they have, they all want that ability to say, I got a chance to play in the NFL, and to do that, you got to be around a guy I think that really knows something about it in that position, playing corner, playing safety. So they're all been good in their way. They all bring a lot more experience than what we've had. Zach Taylor brings us a quarterback coach that runs the offense. The quarterback and him are head-to-head. Eddie Grant did a good job, but our quarterback was coached by another guy that didn't call the plays. So I think that's a huge benefit for us.
Do we make too much of the transition between offensive coordinators? You know, we always hear in the NFL, guys, you know, why that so-and-so quarterback's had 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years, and maybe if he didn't, how much does that really matter?
Well, to me, and I've never coached in NFL, but in college, you've got to coach technique. You've got to teach footwork, especially quarterbacks. You've got to teach the release of the ball. You've got to teach the eyes of a quarterback. And so I think Zach would have been a great NFL quarterback coach because he came from the college level and understood it. He took that to the NFL. I don't know how much they really teach that when they get up there. Again, I've heard, you know, some teams teach technique, and some teams just, hey, let's get the best player and go with it. They don't get any better. But Zach's the type that he loves technique. Comes out here early, stays late. He's a technician.
Last one, you can go off there. Why is a guy who was so bad when he got and looked to be a difference maker at quarterback, now tied for second?
You know, I think that just goes to show you there's not a lot of difference in kids. You know, Gunner was a 5-star recruit and all that. Hayden Moore was probably, you know, if he was a 2-star, he was probably lucky. We don't go by that. But you know, the thing about Gunner is those guys that come in with all those expectations have a lot more pressure on them. I could notice last year Gunner had a lot of pressure on him. He had good receivers around him, but he had a lot of pressure to keep getting better and getting the ball to him. And Hayden comes in and breaks all kind of records playing 3 quarters when Gunner gets hurt. Because, hey, I'm not supposed to do it. You know, I'm just going out and play. And so I think a lot of that's with Gunner. Gunner's got the ability. He's a great kid. He's had his ups and downs. His problem most of the time has really not been anything other than injuries. I mean, he's been beat up since he's been here, and you know, he's been a little bit unlucky. So, you know, I truly expect him to put his best foot forward this year, whether he's a starter, to keep trying to win it every week, or if he is a starter, to try to keep it. Because I want it to be full competition. Right now, I don't see a lot of difference in all of them. You know,
okay.
But I've been working with the defense more, and we have been playing better defense. But I think I see it in all 3 of them's eyes. They want to be the quarterback, but at the end of the day, only one of them can play.
Is it all motivational with him?
I think Gunner wants something. He's got something to prove.
He doesn't need the motivation.
He doesn't know. He doesn't need the motivation. I don't know how many games he started, guys. What, over 20 since he's been here? But he hadn't finished over half of them.
Right.
You know, because he's gotten injured during the game, had to come out. And I think if he can stay healthy, I think that's just his biggest problem. Health of a quarterback means consistency in practice and getting the, you know, feel good about it. And so, you know, I'm pulling for him. You know, I'm pulling for him to be the guy because he came here when he could have gone to other places. He's done a lot of good things for us. I want him to leave here on a good note. But that being said, I still want the best for the play to give us the best chance to win.
Thank you.
Thank you.